Hi friends, I'm Anne-Marie.
And I'm Gabe. A good conversation happens when there is back and forth between two people talking.
This can only happen if they are asking each other the right kinds of questions and then giving the appropriate responses.
And that's why this month's topic is all about asking questions in conversation. Let's take a look at 4 different types of questions you can use that will improve your English conversation skills.
First, we are talking about how to ask open-ended questions.
An open-ended question is a question that cannot be answered with a simple yes or no.
For example, the question, "What's your favorite childhood memory?" is an open-ended question.
But if you asked someone, "Did you have a good childhood?" that's the opposite, a closed-ended question. The person answering the question can just say yes or no, and then the conversation just might end.
And that's the problem with closed-ended questions. They kill the conversation. An open-ended question allows you to learn more about the other person and gives them something to respond to.
So be careful when you're talking to your friends. If you want to keep the conversation flowing, make sure you are using open-ended questions.
And a great type of question to ask after you ask an open-ended question is a follow-up question. Let's talk about those next.
A follow-up is something that is done to continue or add to something already done.
And when it comes to conversations, a follow-up question is asked based on what the other person already said.
So, for example, if the person you're talking to tells you that they had an awesome vacation, a good follow-up question could be, "What was the best part of your trip?"
The thing about follow-up questions is that you need to be listening carefully to the person's answer to your first question in order to ask a good follow-up question.
A good follow-up question doesn't necessarily have to come from the very last thing someone said. It could be related to anything they said.
But you do have to connect your question back to what they said. You could use a few different phrases to do this, such as, "Earlier you mentioned," or "I'm curious what you meant when you said."
So the point is, if you ask a question that's totally unrelated to what the person is talking about, that could just seem kind of rude.
But good follow-up questions keep the conversation moving and show the other person you were listening to what they said.
You not only show people you care about them, you are also improving your English comprehension and conversational skills at the same time.
The question we're talking about next is the clarifying question.
Ooh, there are 2 situations where you need to ask a clarifying question. First, when the information you heard was unclear.
Maybe someone told you something like instructions, but the instructions were subpar to say the least.
Wait a minute, Anne-Marie. Subpar to say the least? What do you mean by that?
Wow, Gabe, what a great example of a clarifying question.
Thanks.
I just mean that the person giving the instructions didn't do it well.
So that's one reason to ask a clarifying question, to clarify information given to you.
The second reason you might ask a clarifying question would be when you are having trouble understanding what the person speaking is trying to communicate.
For example, if I said, "Watching that movie wasn't exactly the best use of my time."
So you're saying you didn't really like that movie, did you?
Exactly. Good clarifying question, Anne-Marie. And in fact, "so you're saying" is a great way to begin a clarifying question.
Now, a clarifying question can be open or closed-ended. Both are okay for this situation.
Clarifying questions are especially helpful for people who don't speak English as a native language. You can ask a clarifying question if there's a word you don't understand or you need someone to repeat something.
Yes, don't be afraid to do this. Try to listen the best you can. But if you can't understand what the other person is saying based on context clues, don't be afraid to ask.
And now it's time to learn one more type of question that will level up your English conversation.
The superlative question.
In grammar, a superlative is an adjective that compares 2 different things or experiences and shows which one is the most extreme. Examples of these types of adjectives are best, worst, least, and most.
Superlative questions use these words and are great conversation starters. For example, you could ask, have you been on any interesting trips recently? But a more interesting question might include a superlative, like this. What is the best trip you've ever taken?
Right, or using the superlative most. What's your most embarrassing moment?
What about a question with least or worst?
Well, you could ask someone, what kind of movies do you like the least? That would start an interesting conversation because you can also get to know someone or about someone through their dislikes just as well as their likes.
Yes. Now, depending on your relationship with the person you're talking to, they may not want to answer really personal questions, but questions with superlatives are generally dependable in a conversation.
In fact, they make great icebreaker questions if you're ever in the position of helping a group get to know each other, because they can really help you learn more about the people that you're interacting with.
And that's what conversation is all about, right? Getting to know people and connecting with them. Try to use a superlative question in a conversation today.
Because they're the best.
Right. Let us know if this tip helps you with your English conversations down in the comments section of this video, and don't forget to like and subscribe.
And ding that little notification bell too. We'll see you next time.